Alright, this is John Cola with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and this is going to be a fun one at that. We're here at O'Hare Airport here in Chicago, and what we're looking at behind me is the O'Hare Urban Garden. This is where inside the American terminals, between like Terminal 2 and Terminal 3, they have a rotunda, and up on the top level actually they're growing food indoors. So I think this is an excellent idea. And what they're using to grow food indoors is the tower garden setup. So while they do use the tower garden setup in a commercial application, there is also a home tower garden. And what we're going to do today is actually show you guys what's growing indoors under HPS lights, and also how the tower garden works, and also my opinions on it. So let's head over to the O'Hare Urban Garden and share with you guys what's growing on. All right, so here it is. O'Hare Urban Garden, HPS lights, really bright in here. It's nighttime, as you guys can see outside. Man, it is a balmy, like 16 degrees outside today in Chicago, but things are growing beautifully indoors. So that's the first clue. If you're living in a place where it's cold, grow indoors in the winter. I don't necessarily recommend using HPS lights, especially this many that takes a lot of power. I'd recommend some standard fluorescent bulbs and growing some sprouts and or microgreens in the winter here. So as you guys can see, what they're using here is the Tower Garden by Juice Plus. And how this works is pretty simple. Basically there's a water reservoir in the bottom. It's like a big half wine barrel size with a lid on it, and then there's basically a plastic tube that goes all the way up, and in each tube there's multiple holes so that they can plant a number of plants in the tower. And it looks like things are growing fairly well here. This is actually some Swiss chard in this one. Here they have some nasturtiums. Over behind there they have some tomatoes, and this one is chives. And I like that it's actually labeled. Each one is actually labeled, because many people might not know the different crops that are growing. I mean, I do, but most people are like, oh, that's what arugula looks like when it's growing. And it's totally cool that they're growing things inside, and actually using some of the produce in the restaurants actually at the airport. As you guys can see, this arugula is going to be used at Tuscany Cafe, and the chives here will be used in Wicker Park. So it's totally real cool that they're doing that, but let's talk more about how this system works specifically. And I could actually hear the pumps come on, so multiple times per hour or however often during the day, there's a pump that takes the water from the bottom there and then pumps it up the middle of the tube, and then basically the water drips down the tube all the way down so that all the plants get watered. So one of the things I'm noticing as I'm walking around this tower garden setup is actually some of the excess salts and the buildup of the hydroponic solution that they're using today. So let me go ahead and show you guys actually some of the salts that are actually drying and crusting up. So check it out. If we look closely at this one here, we can totally see right there some of the salts that are crusting up and drying on the plastic housing. In addition, on the bottom of the units there, you can see more kind of salts crusting up. Now this primarily happens because they're using a fertilizer that's synthetic chemical fertilizer. And as you guys can see, they're actually in the blue barrels behind me. And this is not the natural way food is grown. Now, while I do think it's definitely good to grow food and grow fresh food where it's needed, I personally believe that it's much better to duplicate nature instead of trying to emulate nature like they're doing in hydroponics. So I would prefer to use a soil-based system instead of a hydroponic system like they're doing here. You know, I prefer the garden tower instead of the tower garden. Be sure to check my past videos on that. It's actually less expensive than the tower garden setup actually that they're using here behind me. The personal tower garden setup you can purchase, it costs around $500, and I think that is a lot of money for what you're getting. You know, I'd much rather you guys put $500 towards building some raised beds in the backyard, or investing in some fluorescent tube lights and some good sprouting materials and actually taking the time to learn how to grow your food. I mean, the benefit of the tower garden that you guys are seeing behind me is that, you know, it's pretty turnkey. They provide all the nutrient solution for you and all this kind of stuff, and you just do it. But, you know, I'm concerned that the food that you're growing with this nutrient solution may not be the highest quality food. I mean, I'm looking at some of these items growing, and while some do look fairly healthy, some kind of look a little bit anemic to me, and it's not like the plants are getting everything they need because they probably don't have everything in the nutrient solution mixture over there. In addition, if you take a look at it, you know, the chemical fertilizers, you know, that are water soluble, they provide runoff, and the excess actually goes into the soil, into the dirt, and especially due to the standard conventional agriculture, many of it runs down into the Gulf of Mexico, which creates dead zones, which is not a good thing. So, you know, once again, I would always encourage you guys to grow organically and in accordance with nature whenever possible. So if you do live in the Chicago area or another place where it does get cold during the winter, you know, besides growing indoors, you can erect simply a hoop house outside and grow some cold tolerant crops, especially when heated with a compost pile that's heating up your hoop house outside. I do have past episodes where I visited Will Allen's place in Milwaukee, where I actually show how he does that, and actually have another video that I'll actually post down below and a link in the description, so you can see how they're growing even in the wintertime in the snow. If you don't want to grow inside, you could still grow outside. I always encourage you guys, no matter what, to just, you know, plant some food and grow some things indoors, because I know many of you guys are not in the wintertime. You know, grow some little herbs in a windowsill. You know, grow some microgreens or some sprouts indoors. Those are the best things that you can be growing in the winter indoors. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick episode, learning more about my ideas about the tower garden they have here at O'Hare Airport. In general, I think it's a great idea to grow food where you need it, but I'm not a big fan of the hydroponic that they're using here due to the salt buildups, and where does all that extra salt go when they clean the tanks out? In any case, I gotta go catch my flight. Once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and remember, keep on growing.